did D'Amico Ryans. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. One more first place vote. That's it. That's what settled the tiebreaker between D'Amico Ryans and Kevin Stefanski at the NFL Honors last night. Blew my mind because D'Amico had more second place votes, only 2 third place votes, so he had more seconds and just one less first, while Stefanski had one more first, but a bunch more thirds. So it was just a weird way to settle the tiebreaker and the points in that. To think Kevin Stefanski has now won Coach of the Year twice, and he has one less Coach of the Year title than Bill Belichick. Make that make sense to me. Like, he had a great year, a fantastic year. Yes, I understand he lost some offensive linemen. You know who else lost offensive linemen? The Houston Texans. Before the season even started, they lost Titus Howard and Juice Scruggs. They lost Titus Howard, Juice Scruggs, Laramie Tunsil throughout times in the season. They lost Jarrett Patterson, who was their starting center after Juice Scruggs got hurt. Then he got hurt, and they had to throw Dieter in there, Michael Dieter. Like, Noah Fant got hurt at point of the year. Like, they were just a rotating hodgepodge of offensive line, rookie quarterback who they also won a game without this year as Case Keenum stepped in and got him a win. Went from worst to first, won their division, which is something that Stefanski didn't do. And with overall seemingly going into the season, less talent. But I digress. I think D'Amico Ryans got robbed of the Coach of the Year. Other than that, everything with CJ and Will Anderson both winning offensive and defensive rookies of the year, cementing how fantastic of a trade it was for Nick Caserio to trade up to number 3 to draft him by giving up their own pick, which turns out to be a worse pick than the Cleveland pick that they kept by virtue of them beating Cleveland in the postseason. Tank Dell, they lost Tank Dell in the middle of the year. That's another injury that they had to deal with. Jimmy Ward was never healthy. Look, they didn't have Derek Stingley for like 8 games, and he was the defensive AFC Defensive Player of the Month for the month of December. Like, they also dealt with a bleep ton of injuries, as did the Cleveland Browns. They just did it with young rookies that weren't supposed to be there in the first place and had zero expectations upon them. And when I think Coach of the Year, I'm thinking coaching up talent that is less than the sum of its parts. I don't know. It's just me. But like I said, I digress. But with that news, with CJ Stroud, with Will Anderson winning the Rookies of the Year, with the incredible season they had, the playoff victory, and everything that came, and then the fact that Andre Johnson gets the call and will be a Hall of Famer and the first Houston Texan to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Spare me Tony Baselli. He never played a single snap for the Houston Texans, and Ed Reed had a cup of coffee in there for 6 games before he was eventually cut and retired. They weren't Texans. Andre Johnson was, forever will be a Houston Texan. He is the first one to get the call to go into Canton. And we were wondering how long, because of the logjam at receiver, would it take? And I was going to be mad because I thought Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holt may go in before him, even though Andre Johnson did more with less at the quarterback position throughout his career than did those other receivers who had Hall of Famers, Kurt Warner and Peyton Manning throwing to them, and had some of the most prolific offenses ever. Andre Johnson put up those numbers with guys like Dan Orlovsky, Sage Rosenfels, David Carr, Tony Banks, and Matt Schaub. I am extremely happy to see that. And I'm so happy with the direction of the team and Andre getting in and the NFL honors last night that I started to think to myself, is this the greatest moment in Houston Texans franchise history? A lot of teams have a championship game to fall back on and a Super Bowl appearance if you're the Carolina Panthers, multiple championship games for the Jacksonville Jaguars, both with Brunell and with Blake Bortles. Don't forget about that Blake Bortles year. Like, most of them have on the field things that make those, like, the greatest moment in the history of the franchise. The Texans have never made it past the divisional round. They made it as far this year with a rookie quarterback and head coach and defensive end as they have their entire year and entire history of the franchise. And then on top of that, you get your first Hall of Famer and the offensive and defensive rookies of the year, and everything's pointing in such a tremendous direction. I don't want to be prisoner of the moment, but this feels like the greatest moment in Houston Texans franchise history to me. And I really, really don't think it's that close. What say you? 656 ESPN, 656 3776. I see you on the phone lines. I'm going to get to you. Remember, I put you on hold so that I can get to you. But just stay there. I'm going to get to you coming up next. Your phone calls right here. Was that the greatest moment in Houston Texans franchise history? Remember, this franchise only been around for 21 years now on the field. So there's not a massive history like that of the Cowboys or other teams, but this feels to me like the greatest moment in franchise history. But they can change a lot of the perception when it comes this offseason because getting Tank Dell healthy, other things that could happen in free agency. I'll explain what I think could be the biggest benefit. And this year's Super Bowl is a key indicator of why you should do this year in free agency. I'll discuss next right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Plus, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Emmitt Smith joined the Blitz. I'm going to let you hear that. That's all coming up right now. Don't go nowhere.
If you miss the Blitz with Jason and Joe, then you miss this.
Wade Phillips joining us here in studio on the Blitz. Mike McCarthy said he had a 3-hour meeting with Jerry, and he kept his job on the other side. What are those one-on-ones like with Jerry Jones?
You know, Jerry's blunt, but, I mean, he wants to know about his team and what we're doing and how we're going to get better, basically. Not the plays. He doesn't want to call the plays. Yeah, he has long meetings. I've had those 3 hours. The shorter meeting I had with him wasn't good. Yeah, that was on my last meeting with him.
That was short, huh?
Yeah. But
Right home with the Blitz. Afternoons 2 to 6 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
We used to fight chickens in Oklahoma until they got
What?
busted up by the cops.
Grown people fighting chickens?
Yeah.
You don't fight the chickens yourself. You let the chickens fight each other.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was
I'd
gonna
watch
say,
that.
it's kind of off balance a little bit.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Every Saturday morning.
Catch the John Clay Wolf Show, Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon, right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
COVID-19? I don't want to risk missing work. I booked an appointment for this season's updated COVID-19 shot designed to help protect against recent variants. Learn about a vaccine option and book your COVID-19 shot on schedulecovidvax.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Nachos!
Hey, I'll take some.
And some Frank's Red Hot.
Nah.
You're just gonna eat these boring nachos with no flavor. Frank it up! Frank it up! This guy finally gets it.
It's the perfect blend of flavor and heat. Frank's Red Hot. I put that on everything.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
If you're a man and you live in San Antonio or the surrounding areas, you need to pay close attention to what I'm about to say. Are you having issues rising to the occasion? Do you constantly worry about whether or not you can perform? Have you completely stopped having adult time? Is it something you just don't talk about? Guys, we have a solution. Mojo, the 100% guaranteed male enhancement pill that's fast, effective, and was designed to reignite passion, performance, and confidence in the bedroom. Yeah. Be ready at a moment's notice with the Mojo male enhancement pill. And for those of you who have used Mojo, check out Mojo Enduramax. Touchdown! A new formula that improves the potency and effectiveness of Mojo. Get fast results, last longer, and be the man she'll never forget. Mojo and Mojo Enduramax. 100% natural male enhancement formulas only available at Pure Line Nutrition. Call now, 210-494-2210. That's 210-494-2210. Or visit us online at thepureline.com.
Over the past decade, the Roo Pub has proven to be the best place to watch games with those 3 massive 170-inch screens and TVs all around. All the games, all the UFC fights, and when you show up at the Roo Pub, show up hungry. The food is fantastic. Open daily at 11. Great for lunch, great for dinner, great for late at night, and certainly the best place to watch a game. The Roo Pub is next to the Angry Elephant and in the same plaza as the Big Blind. They're at 281 in Redland Road. We'll see you at the Roo.
Attention all homeowners, do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass? Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now, you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just call 800-NEW-WINDOWS for your free consultation on top quality, affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Call 800-NEW-WINDOWS right now. Don't wait. Call 800-NEW-WINDOWS. 800-NEW-WINDOWS.
Super Bowl 58 in Vegas is set. It's the Chiefs and Niners. Hear it right here on your exclusive home for the Super Bowl. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
That is right. This big game is right here on San Antonio Sports Star. You can catch the Chiefs and Niners. It all starts at 1 with the pregame. Then at 4, we have the pregame. And then at 5:30 kickoff between the Chiefs and Niners in the big game. It is presented to you by Flight by Yingling. I am James Pledger. Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I talked about it going into the break. I kind of figured that Joshua Jimenez would call in when I asked if this was the greatest moment in Houston Texans franchise history. And I say that prefacing it with, when you say that out loud after 21 years, it's a little depressing because the future is so bright and so high, and the star is shining at an unbelievable pulsation right now. So, with all that said, when you say greatest moment in franchise history, it kind of like, ow, that hurts a little bit, but it is washed away by the greatness that we are looking forwards and towards. Josh, welcome into Extra Innings with Pledge. Am I right? Is this the greatest moment in Houston Texans franchise history?
Pledge, I will say it again. You are 100% right. It is the greatest moment in Houston Texans history. And it's like I was saying, the low points that this franchise has had were just so bad, especially after the Bill O'Brien, and to be at this point. And the other thing is, with the Andre Johnson going in, is the cherry on top of what last night was for Houston Texans fans, because a lot of Texans fans wanted Andre in. He's the Houston Texan. He's the one from the beginning of in 2003 is when he got drafted, but that's basically the beginning of the franchise. And
the thing, we could have had two up there.
Exactly.
Julius Peppers went right after David Carr.
Yeah, we could have had two, but hey man, they made a decision for David Carr. Like I said, there's been some low points. We're not gonna dispute the low points. We've made some bad decisions. There's been some times we've gone home and said, "Oh wow, I didn't know I really did that." So it's.
Think about this: the low points that were in the lowest part of the franchise's history over the past 3 years. They've had the number one pick 3 times throughout their history. They didn't have it during the lowest point of their entire franchise.
The lowest point was signing Whitney Merciless to that massive contract and trading DeAndre Hopkins and making Bill O'Brien the general manager.
And D-Hop he done work. He done practice, so
I don't care. D-Hop. It's one of those pleasures. Trust me, we were there in those little low points, and trust me, I don't even care about that. I'm looking at it like, hey, the star is shining so bright, and the fact that you see all these old Houston Texans coming back. I mean, look at Arian Foster. He's finally starting to be a part of the organization, and for the longest time, he abandoned it and said, "I don't want nothing to do with it." And now,
rightly so,
kind of going, rightly so, like he should have. But it's one of those, like, all these old players are coming back, and it's like, man, this is a new era. This is a new time, and for the first time in Texans history, like you've even stated in games that they had this past season, when they got close into games, you didn't really think, oh, man, we're going to blow it. I know they're going to lose. You thought CJ's going to carry us. We've never had that as, like, in a team or a quarterback. We just were like, they're going to somehow lose. Even when they were up 24-3, you were like, don't worry.
To be fair, I was at the Broncos game. I wasn't sure. Like, if CJ was on the field last, I felt good. If the defense was on the field last early, I've seen them blow leads.
Like, oh, yeah. Like, I've seen them blow leads, too, this past season. But when when you see CJ go on the field, you're like, oh, I like it. And then the fact that defense, like, this team just had a different feel to it this past season. And, again, I don't know if they're going to be able to replicate what they had this past season. I do expect a regression from what they did, just because you can't keep all those players and re-sign everybody and bring in free agents to help fill that void. Plus, you're playing a number 1 seed schedule. So, yes, it's going to be a lot tougher. But, I mean, to be honest, like, hey, Nick, I questioned him on his free agency, who he signed and who he brought in and how he didn't spend last season. And I was like, you know what?
That was by design.
Hey, I believe in the design. I don't even care. It's not like the Spurs. I can tell you that. I ain't no trust in anyone in that organization. So with these Houston Texans, Hey, if they trade away a star, I'm like, hey, it's by design. I don't care. Nick's earned my congratulations on that. Like what he did with this team, how he navigated that pitfall of a salary cap that Bill O'Brien left him in. It's a thing of beauty. So to be honest, it's one of those like it's actual trust you can have in an organization, which I don't think the Houston Texans fans have ever had. So that's why I think Texans Twitter is like a little like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, because it's like, man, you've never been able to trust an organization like this before. So it's a pleasant surprise. It's awesome. It's great, and I'm just gonna live in the highs because we have definitely had some low points. And like I said, Pledge, I'm gonna forget about those low points. You know, they're 21 years old. They can drink to forget those low points. We're good.
It's okay to forget them now, my man.
Yeah, it is okay. We got CJ. You got Will Anderson. We're good. We're good. D'Amico's running the team. You know, it could all come apart tomorrow, but we're not going to worry about that because today it's together. Today it is good.
Appreciate the phone call,
No
Josh.
problem, brother. All right, man. Love the show. Thank you.
Oh man, yeah, it's insanely high time to be a Texan. And he brought up Arian Foster, and I wanna say this: there's a path for the Houston Texans, I think, to be really good, and a lot of it's going to depend on Nick Caserio continuing to crush the draft the way he has. There's one real big miss, you would say, on his resume right now, and that's Kenyon Green, and that's mainly because we have no idea what Kenyon Green is. Other than that, everything's worked out very well for him and his draft process. So there's not a lot to really belittle when it comes to that. So you trust them to make the right in the draft. Nobody bats 1,000, but you get a solid percentage with Nick Caserio over his first 3 draft classes. And I say that to say this: they've got a ton of cap space. You can go find yourself, re-sign some of the free agents, but look at the teams, and most specifically, look at the team you most closely resemble, the San Francisco 49ers, that are in the Super Bowl this weekend, a game you can catch here on San Antonio Sports Star. Christian McCaffrey is one of the biggest reasons that they are in this game. There might be a Christian McCaffrey level player available in free agency, depending on what the Giants do. Do they franchise tag Saquon Barkley for a second time, or do they let him test the market? And if they do, that's your Christian McCaffrey. You go get a guy like like Saquon Barkley, who has the vision, has the ability to cut back, plant his foot in the ground to go, and also be a part of the passing game the way that Christian McCaffrey is. Not to the exact same level, but he is a threat out of the backfield, unlike a lot of running backs in this league. He's a dual threat in that sense. So go splurge. You've got the cap space to do it. Bring in that piece. It helps take a little bit of the pressure off CJ Stroud in terms of how much he had to actually shoulder this season. Houston Texans could be a threat next year. You've already got Tank Dell. You've already got Nico Collins. You could probably add a receiver in the draft, but even if you don't, Robert Woods is still going to be there. You bring back a Dalton Schultz. That offense is going to be loaded for bear for CJ. And then you flip to the defensive side. You shore up that defensive line. Hopefully you re-sign a Jonathan Grenard, who led the team in sacks this year with 12.5. Maybe re-sign a Sheldon Rankins and maybe plug another guy in there. I don't know if you go big like a Justin Madubuike or Christian Wilkins, or if you look for a cheaper alternative the way you did with the Sheldon Rankins and find those bargain guys. Nick Caserio's done a great job of doing that. On our YouTube live feed, Fred Villarreal said possibly Cortland Finnegan will be able to present Andre at his Hall of Fame induction. That would be hysterical. Claymore says it's easily the Texans' historical and biggest moment. Nearly a quarter of a century, and Andre Johnson finally gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. Robert Spencer on our YouTube live said, Houston Texans fans referring to the low times. That's cute. Imagine being a Bengals fan since the 80s. Look, I 100% get that. Like, there are a bunch of fan bases that have had it way worse than the Houston Texans across the league. I'm not debating that. 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. What say you? More of your phone calls on the other side right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's the Morning Huddle with Rob and RJ.
Monday on the Morning Huddle. Hopefully my voice is back, but we are back and the big game happened. We have some thoughts.
RJ Ochoa and I sit back and look at what we saw. Zimmer is the defensive coordinator. Dak is in flux. What's going on with McCarthy? And oh, by the way, the Spurs continue to lose. So much to do. You better get there early. The party starts at 6.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in the zone.
So what if I need a new one? No problem. We have the right battery for your car, starting at only $89.99.
Get in the zone,
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
It's a mystery where Old Spice finds its amazing scents like Himalayan sea salt, but I'm thrilled they have because no other body wash exfoliates and moisturizes 24/7 like Himalayan sea salt body wash. Now, if only there was a mountain range separating the Indian subcontinent from the Tibetan plateau where I could hide my Old Spice and keep my family from stealing it, my impossibly smooth skin will finally be safe.
Rob Thompson here for SA Card House. It's where I go to get my poker on. They're over at 281 in Bitters, 13400 San Pedro Avenue if you are going to be using the map services. Easy to get to, open 7 days a week. Everything that I've been looking for. Look, I've played poker for years, and card houses have been a great experience, but let me tell you, you want to talk about next level, it's SA Card House, because they've got everything that I want. I'm not just a casual player. I like to play, but I like to play with folks I like. I like to be in an environment that I feel comfortable, enjoy the people around, the service and all that goes around that. I get all of that. And then you add in Foster's Grill, which takes SA Card House over the top. They have the opportunity, you have the opportunity to go play great cards in a great environment, a great place, and then add in a great meal made by worthy chefs. It is not pub grub. This is posh nosh. That's SA Card House. Games to be played, fun to be had. Go there today and thank me later.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
What's wrong, Cupid? Chris, I've lost my mojo. These arrows just don't work like they used to. The facts are people fall in love thanks to Connecticut, not poor old Cupid. You don't say. Oh, absolutely. Look over there. She's got silky smooth hair thanks to a Connecticut water softener. He's got softer skin and cleaner clothes, and now they're all lovey-dovey. Makes me sick. Don't feel bad, Cupid. You still have your bow and arrow. I'll rub it in, Chris. I know a Connecticut runs on kinetic energy like my bow and arrow. There's no computer to break. A Connecticut has it all.
This is Chris Canepa with Connecticut and San Antonio in the Hill Country. There's a reason people love their Connecticut. Right now, I'll let you try one for 90 days, absolutely free with no contract. Just call 656-PURE.
You know, you're right, Chris. I love my Connecticut too. My diaper has never looked so white. And my wings, oh, I look good.
Cupid, you can always come to work for me.
You serious, Chris?
But you're going to have to wear pants.
ConnecticutSA.com.
This is Jim Rome. Join me weekdays at noon on my new home, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings to a pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pledger. Thanks for rolling with me this evening. Go ahead and like, subscribe, comment along on our YouTube page. I appreciate it. Danny Morga says, is this whole show just going to be about the Texans? No, it's not. You're going to hear Emmitt Smith here in just a second. And they've got a new defensive coordinator. Mike Zimmer's coming back. But like I say, you call, you get in 210-656-ESPN, 210-656-3776. Martin, welcome into Extra Innings with Pledge. How you doing, my man?
Hi, Spencer.
I'm always good. What's happening?
Oh, you know, like I was telling you earlier, you Cowboys fans, get ready. We're not. There's a 12-4 records are gone. It's going to be probably a 10-7 record. The team's going to be in decline. Jerry Jones said he's all in. The only thing he's all in for is making money. You know, because y'all new Cowboy fans, you know, y'all drink his Kool-Aid. He don't care about winning. He's done. In about 5 years, he'll probably sell the team once he gets it sold for about $15 billion. He doesn't care. But anyway, and Mike, defensive coach, you know, for back in the day, because these guys nowadays, they don't like to hit because they don't want to get hurt. They're just divas, just like this new generation of kids nowadays. You have a good day.
I appreciate it, my man. Thank you so much, Martin. You can call back anytime. Look, Cowboys fans, a lot of people want to throw Dak Prescott out. I get it. You'll hear from Emmitt Smith here in just a few minutes about what he thinks about what's going on with Dak and how they should approach that. Tony Pollard, the whole nine. And it's very, very difficult because they're in a very difficult place with the salary cap being what it is. It's hard when you don't have the heir apparent to move on. At least the 49ers have Brock Purdy when they moved on from Garoppolo and when they moved on from Trey Lance. They saw something in a guy they had drafted and developed and went, that's the guy, before they moved on. With Aaron Rodgers, they had Jordan Love underneath him. If you don't have the guy groomed in the background, things can get very bleak for very long periods of time while you try and figure out what that next thing is. Dak Prescott finished second in the MVP voting this year. I understand that the playoff success isn't there, but that's not all on Dak Prescott. Part of it's on the play calling by the head coach. Part of it, a big, big part of it this year, was on the defense. No linebackers. No defensive tackles that can stop the run. Weak right up the middle. It's not a great place to be weak unless you're playing the Carolina Panthers of the world and the New York Jets and the New York Giants. You beat up on bad teams. Hate to break it to you that way. 12-5 looks good on paper. Look back at the season. You didn't beat a whole bunch of great teams. And the Texans' 10 wins weren't that great either. They beat up on a bunch of bad teams. They played the NFC South. They lost to some of those teams. Schedule makes a lot, but you've got to get some wins against quality opponents over that stretch. I'm not saying you have to win all of those games. It definitely helps, especially if you're going to be a very, very good team. But there was no marquee win outside of what? The Eagles, after they had started their implosion, What was the other big win? Detroit? Holding on for dear life against Detroit? I guess that's the best win of the Cowboys season. And even that win almost felt like a loss. The Cowboys need a culture change. Hopefully, with what we've heard from Christy Scales and others, Mike Zimmer can change the culture of that team and hold players accountable. Claymore on our YouTube Live says, grading Dak or legitimizing his merits in the case for MVP will be tough until playoff success. Sure. Lamar Jackson didn't have a playoff win outside of the divisional round, move past the divisional round until he did. The Houston Texans have never made it past the divisional round. It's hard to win in the playoffs. Not a lot of teams get to do it. Aaron Rodgers made one Super Bowl. And in the case of the AFC, there's a guy that dominated for 20 years named Tom Brady, who kept a lot of good players from winning Super Bowls throughout his time in the league. And there's another guy right behind him doing the same thing in Patrick Mahomes, blocking the Josh Allens of the world and blocking the Lamar Jacksons of the world from being able to do such a thing. It's difficult. Playoff success is hard to come by. You just can't fall flat like you did this year against the Green Bay Packers. More of your phone calls and Emmitt Smith next right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
The Sports Star boys are in Vegas for the big game.
Remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Robin, RJ, and Jason and Joe are in Sin City and Radio Row for the big game with security provided by AA Best Bail Bonds.
Let's go to Vegas. We'll all get drunk and
Yeah,
woo!
I think you gonna get away with it. Not up in here.
Powered by AA Best Bail Bonds, Synergenics, Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, and 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
An altercation with an overzealous fan on Wednesday evening in Las Vegas. Apparently, the NBA top draft pick, Victor Wembanyama.
Very nice.
Okay.
The John Clay Wolf Show, every Saturday morning.
Catch the John Clay Wolf Show, Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon, right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
If you get arrested, get out of jail fast by calling AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. Text bail to 474747 or online at mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else. Don't be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you one, make sure you understand the conditions before accepting it. AA Best Bail Bonds. Nobody beats their price. They have payment plans. Call 210-225-2121 or mybestbailbonds.com.
License number 149. Attention all homeowners, do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now, you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just call 800-NEW-WINDOWS for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Call 800-NEW-WINDOWS right now. Don't wait. Call 800-NEW-WINDOWS. 800-NEW-WINDOWS.
If you only have a 401k, you're not getting the most for retirement.
Wait, what?
Add a Robinhood IRA on top, then they'll boost it by 3%.
You can do that?
And if you transfer in any retirement account, you get 3% on top of that.
Is there a limit to the match?
No limit. Robinhood Gold gets you the biggest contribution match of any IRA on the market. Sign up for Robinhood Gold at Robinhood.com/boost by April 30th. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Match on transfers subject to additional terms and conditions. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC.
At Lowe's, save big every day when you buy in bulk. Save on bulk purchases of select insulation from trusted brands like Green Fiber. And there's more. Save 10% when you buy 6 or more select interior pre-hung and slab doors. Visit us in-store or online for low prices on the materials you need. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details.
Guys, your testosterone level impacts your energy, drive, weight, hair loss, and even ED. Revive Men's Health San Antonio will check your T level for free. For your free T level check, exam, and consultation, call 210-615-7777 or visit revivemenshealth.com.
The NFL is on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. And I'm guessing Danny earlier, who was wondering if the entire show was going to be about Texans, hadn't caught this show before. I usually spend 90% of my wind talking about the Spurs or the Dallas Cowboys. And speaking of the Cowboys, you call, you get on 210-656-ESPN, 210-656-3776. Wesley, welcome on to Extra Innings with Pledger, my man. You want to talk Cowboys?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for taking the call.
Of course.
I think, what we have to look at is what do we see as in the teams that are in the Super Bowl.
I got you.
Both have dominant offensive lines, dominant defensive lines. The Dallas Cowboys have neither of those. You also have a linebacker deficiency. That has nothing to do with Dak Prescott. And for all the things that Dan Quinn does, and he deserves a lot of credit, he did not address those issues when he needed to. And so if they're not getting the interceptions that they were ball hawking, then it led to losses, and sometimes embarrassingly big. So I don't agree with anybody who says that was the case, that it's somehow Dak. Dak doesn't control what the defensive line or the offensive line.
True. You're absolutely true. It is hard to win in this league without dominant lines on both sides of the ball. And that is two of the strengths of the teams that we're watching play this weekend in Vegas. And I don't know how much you pay attention to it. Am I still living off the reputation of what that Cowboys offensive line used to be?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's Jerry Jones' downfall, Pledge. He's a loyal person to a fault. We know this. The reason why the Cowboys fail time and time again is because instead of realizing when you have to blow things up, the Eagles did that. They had Andy Reid. They had a Super Bowl championship. They blew it up. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They got back to the Super Bowl before the Cowboys could even sniff a second-round win. I just think that's where you look at it and say, there's a lot of things wrong with the Dallas Cowboys, and Dak Prescott's probably number 10 on that list.
Wes, I appreciate the phone call, my man. That is perfectly said.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Talk to you later.
Of course. Yeah, look, it starts at the top, and Jerry has his issues. They're not all on Jerry, but he cultivates the culture that permeates throughout the franchise, and you need a head coach that can change that culture. I don't think that's Mike McCarthy, personally. It's rough, and I think Emmitt Smith, who joined the guys on Media Row earlier today, talked a lot about some of the issues that they're dealing with.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. He's Joe Ryan Eagle. I'm Jason Minix. We continue with our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage, brought to you by Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds and Synergenics, online at fixmylowt.com. Now joined by the legend, Emmitt Smith. You make our Super Bowl Radio Row every week, man, every year. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you for having me. Come bearing gifts as always. We're just making this a tradition.
It is a tradition, a great Super Bowl tradition to have the great Emmitt Smith on the last day of Radio Row. It's perfect.
Yeah. I'm fortunate and blessed to have partners that see the value in walking on Radio Row, talking about a little tequila, talking about Narcan nasal sprays or whatever it may be. But to talk about the game itself is something that I have tremendous experience in, as well as these other things that I just mentioned.
Well, you talk about the traditions, and quite frankly, we need the tequila when talking about the Dallas Cowboys because it's becoming too much of a tradition to be here with the Cowboys not. And this year we thought, man, this might be the year. The path was wide open for the Dallas Cowboys, and then they hit the playoffs.
Yeah. It was disappointing. It really was, and has been for some years now. I mean, we've been sold and convinced that this is the year every year, and been let down for the last 20 some odd years because, it's not that I don't want to see the team successful, because I really, really want to see them successful. I want these kids and other kids that have played the game or are playing the game to experience what I've experienced, to experience this moment, to have their Super Bowl moment and have their Super Bowl memories so they can share with their loved ones for the rest of their lives. And not seeing the quality on the football field, the consistency on the football field, or even the sense of urgency on the football field, like time is running out on us. It has become very disheartening.
I know the NFL is a tough business. I get that. But, watching you guys in the 90s, the way you played, y'all never seemed flat, especially when the bright lights were on. You guys came to play. And I guess that was the most frustrating thing about that Green Bay game, was that the guys were just flat. They just didn't seem ready to go.
We didn't have room to be flat because we weren't built as a flat team. We was built as a most competitive team that you can ever come up against. When you saw the Cowboys in the 90s, particularly from 91 on, all the way up to the point of 2000 or 2002, I should say. But when you saw us, you knew what you was about to get into. You knew it was going to be 4 quarters, a battle. The last of 4 quarters, it became a battle. If you wasn't, you got dominated. And that's just the way it was, because our team was so competitive and we were built inside out, built to run the ball, built to stop the run, and play physical football and fast football for 4 quarters. There was no letting up, none whatsoever. And we were groomed that way because we had to play against Buddy Ryan and that Philadelphia Eagle defense with Jerome Brown and Clyde Simmons and Reggie White and Bill Golick and Byron Evans and all these guys that ran the Bear defense. And so which stopped the run, slowed it down anyway. And so all that's how we were built. We were built to play like that. And so this team and these teams today, some of them are built differently. I mean, when you look at the Niners and you look at the Chiefs, the Niners are built kind of similar to the way we were used to be built, inside out. The Chiefs, they are built also similarly to where we were, inside out. These two teams can run the ball, and they can daggone throw the ball. So you have the balance of the two, of having a nice run game and a good passing game and a solid defense. And special teams wise, they're not shabby. Neither one. So they are the best. The best of the best is meeting on Sunday, and they've earned the right to be there. And so until our guys understand that, until we get back to the basics and the fundamentals of who we are as an organization, we won't see it.
Fundamentals as an organization. And we often talk on our show about Jerry making winning decisions or business decisions. Emmitt Smith, when you think about some of what you've seen them do, and you've got Dak's contract is, they've got to figure out what to do there and who they're going to sign and all that kind of stuff. Is it a business decision or a winning decision?
I think it's both. You can't do one without the other. You got to make great business decisions in terms of obviously what's right for the Cowboys all the way around. But the business decision itself cannot be at the detrimental of the team. And so when I think about the Cowboys, Dak Prescott should be and should remain our quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years. How does that happen? That's where the business part of it has to work out, to where there has to be an understanding. And Dak has to understand also, if I don't take as much, I'm leaving room for others to continue to come here, and I'm surrounded by quality football players that can compete. That's one thing. He can do that. He has the ability to do that. He has the decision to make. Because oftentimes it's not necessarily about the money right now. It has to be about winning. And winning brings capital. Winning championships definitely brings more capital. And so, yes, you cannot do one without the other.
You know, that's interesting that you say that because, look, I mean, I'm for guys getting all the money that they are entitled to or can get.
Be selfish. Get what you can.
Absolutely. But do you think
that's the problem?
That's it. Do you think Dak will do it?
I don't know if he will or not, but that's required. Sometimes it's not about you having it. It's about something because you're going to get yours. He's going to get his regardless because he is the franchise quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But he's going to get more if we win a championship. And so it's about really players being unselfish about who they are and what they're doing and coming together because money shouldn't be an object right now. Right now, the main focus should be winning, and it's not about the capital. But like I said, Dak Prescott is and should remain our franchise quarterback because who else are you going to get? If you go get someone else, you're developing a player, and you only got 4 years to develop him. And who's to say that the guy that you go get is the right guy? I mean, chemistry has a lot to do with continuity of an organization. And so from that standpoint, I would rather keep the chemistry and the continuity that we have and build a better chemistry and a stronger chemistry if we can.
Hall of Fame.
That was Hall of Famer, all-time NFL rushing leader, Emmitt Smith on the Blitz. If you want to catch that full interview, go to our AA Best Bail Bonds audio vault at sasportstar.com, or since some of you are already on YouTube channel, go to the playlist. You'll see the Big Game 2024 playlist in there. Emmitt's right there. You could see him as he delivers this interview. A lot of things he said there makes a lot of sense, but I'm sure we'll break down more of what Emmitt had to say when we get back on Monday as we react to the Super Bowl. Don't forget, it's a game you can catch here on San Antonio Sports Star this Sunday. And don't forget to join me. I'll be at the Twin Peaks at Park North. That is 410 and Blanco Road. Be there noon to 2, getting you ready for the big game on Sunday. Until then, I'll see y'all on Monday. This has been Extra Innings with Pleasure on 941 San Antonio Sports Star.
Ladies. This is Sports Center.
The coaching carousel is spinning in college football. I'm Chris Smith. UCLA coach Chip Kelly expected to become the next offensive coordinator for Ohio State, according to ESPN's Pete Thamel. Kelly is expected to replace Bill O'Brien, who was named the head coach at Boston College.